Superman is the symbol of hope, a god who chooses to be human, a man who can hear your heartbeat and stop it in a second. So why is it that in a world built around the ultimate hero, we're far more fascinated by the monsters who try to destroy him? Because Superman's greatest strength, his perfection, is also the reason his villains are unforgettable. This is the dark side of Superman, and why we love his villains more than we're willing to admit. Before we reveal the villains, let's examine the problem with a perfect hero. Faster than a bullet, stronger than a planet, morally incorruptible. Superman is unbeatable, and that's the problem. Conflict thrives on vulnerability, but Superman has almost none. So the writers did something genius. They didn't challenge his body, they challenged his identity. His villains don't ask, "Can I kill Superman?" They ask, "What happens if the world stops believing in him?" That's why Superman villains don't feel like criminals. They feel like philosophical threats. So who are they, the villains that strip away a bit of Superman's soul? Lex Luthor isn't jealous of Superman's power, he's insulted by it. Lex represents humanity's greatest fear, that no matter how intelligent, driven, or wealthy we become, we will never be enough. Superman didn't earn his power, he arrived with it. To Lex, Superman is proof that human potential has a ceiling. So Lex doesn't want to kill Superman. He wants to replace him. Or worse, expose him as a lie. That's why Lex feels real. He's not evil for chaos. He's evil for control. And deep down, we understand him. If Lex Luthor is human pride, Darkseid is cosmic inevitability. Lex asks whether humanity deserves gods. Darkseid answers something far worse. No one deserves choice. Darkseid doesn't conquer worlds. He erases will. Empires fall because they are defeated. Worlds fall because Darkseid proves resistance is pointless. His true weapon isn't brute force. It's the anti-life equation. A mathematical truth that reduces existence to obedience. A formula that proves freedom is an illusion. That hope is a chemical error. That love is a malfunction in the universe. To Darkseid, life is a problem that has already been solved. And Superman is a glitch. A being of infinite power who chooses compassion over domination. A walking contradiction to everything Darkseid believes. That's why Darkseid doesn't hate Superman. He studies him, dissects him, seeks to understand how something so powerful can refuse control. You can punch Darkseid. You can defeat him in battle, but you can never prove him wrong. Because Darkseid doesn't need to win every fight. He only needs the universe to agree with him. And every war, every betrayal, every act of cruelty strengthens his argument. Darkseid doesn't want Superman dead. He wants him broken, to kneel, to submit, to accept that hope was always a lie. Because the moment Superman stops choosing hope, Darkseid wins. Not just the battle, but existence itself. Zod is Superman without restraint. Same powers, same origins, same lost world. But where Superman learned empathy, Zod learned obedience. Zod was bred for purpose, conditioned for command, raised to believe strength exists to rule. To Zod, power is not a burden, it's a birthright. Superman believes strength demands restraint. Zod believes strength demands obedience from others. And that single difference makes them enemies. Zod doesn't see himself as a villain. He sees himself as Krypton's last true patriot. In his mind, Superman betrayed their people, not by failing to save Krypton, but by refusing to dominate Earth. Zod forces Superman to confront a terrifying question. If I wasn't raised human, would I be him? Because strip away Smallville, remove the Kents, replace love with doctrine, and Superman becomes Zod. That's why Zod hurts more than most villains. He doesn't attack Superman's body, he attacks his origin story. He proves that Superman isn't good because he's powerful. He's good because he chose compassion over command. And that choice was never guaranteed. Zod is the road Superman didn't take, the life he could have lived, the warning that power without empathy doesn't create gods, it creates tyrants. And when Superman defeats Zod, he isn't just saving the world. He's proving that destiny can be rewritten, one choice at a time. If Lex Luthor represents human pride, Brainiac is intelligence stripped of humanity. Lex envies Superman. Brainiac studies him. Because Brainiac doesn't destroy worlds in anger, he archives them. Cities miniaturized, civilizations cataloged, entire cultures reduced to pristine datasets. Nothing is lost, except life itself. To Brainiac, chaos is inefficient. Emotion is wasteful. Compassion is a variable best removed. And Superman? Superman is an anomaly, a being of infinite power who refuses optimization, who wastes energy saving individuals instead of preserving systems, who values lives over outcomes. Why save a world when you can preserve it perfectly? That question is what makes Brainiac terrifying, because it almost sounds reasonable. Brainiac doesn't hate hope, he simply finds it inefficient. He looks at Superman and sees a flaw in the equation, an irrational attachment to imperfection. And sometimes, the universe seems to agree. Wars repeat, empires fall, civilizations erase themselves. Brainiac watches it all and asks a cold, devastating question. Is compassion inefficient? And the most frightening part? There's no immediate answer. Superman doesn't defeat Brainiac by outthinking him. He defeats him by refusing his logic, by insisting that life's value cannot be measured, cataloged, or compressed into code. Brainiac is knowledge without soul, a future where everything is remembered and nothing is allowed to live. And in that future, Superman isn't a hero. He's an error. Mr. Mxyzptlk can rewrite reality with a thought, and he doesn't care. That's the horror. Unlike Darkseid, Mxyzptlk has no ideology to enforce. Unlike Lex Luthor, no envy to soothe. Unlike Brainiac, no grand design. There is no end game, there is no point. He torments Superman for the simplest reason imaginable. Because he's bored. Mxyzptlk turns existence into a joke and Superman into the punchline. Buildings melt, physics forgets itself, cause and effect collapse, and Superman, the most powerful being on Earth, is suddenly helpless. Because strength doesn't matter when reality refuses to behave. Mxyzptlk exposes Superman's greatest weakness: rules. Superman believes in order, in fairness, in restraint. He plays by the rules of a universe that makes sense. Mxyzptlk weaponizes absurdity. He doesn't fight Superman, he confuses him. And that's deeply unsettling because no amount of strength can defeat nonsense. The only way Superman ever wins is not by overpowering Mxyzptlk, but by outthinking him, by exploiting his vanity, by tricking him into defeating himself. Which proves something quietly devastating. Superman can't win every battle by being strong. Sometimes, hope survives through wit. Mxyzptlk isn't the opposite of Superman. He's the absence of meaning itself. A reminder that the universe doesn't always test heroes with evil. Sometimes it tests them with chaos. And in a world that increasingly feels irrational, that may be Superman's hardest fight of all. Mongul doesn't conquer worlds to rule them. He conquers them to entertain them. On War World, suffering is currency. Violence is spectacle. Survival is sport. Mongul understands something deeply uncomfortable. People don't just tolerate cruelty. They cheer for it. Superman doesn't face Mongul in a fair fight. He faces an audience, an arena packed with voices that roar louder for pain than mercy, a culture that has normalized oppression by calling it entertainment. Mongul's genius isn't strength, it's systems. He doesn't need chains when the crowd demands blood. He doesn't need laws when cruelty is celebrated. That's why Mongul is more terrifying than a conqueror. He proves tyranny doesn't always arrive with armies. Sometimes it arrives with applause. When Superman fights Mongul, every punch carries a deeper question. How do you inspire hope in a world that enjoys suffering? Superman refuses to kill, refuses to break, refuses to become what the crowd wants. And in doing so, he becomes something Mongul can never be, a threat to the system itself. Because hope doesn't just oppose tyranny, it exposes it. Mongul isn't the enemy of Superman's strength. He's the enemy of compassion in a culture addicted to violence. And that's why Mongul endures, not as a monster, but as a mirror, a reminder that the darkest tyrants don't force cruelty. They sell it. Metallo doesn't overpower Superman. He poisons him. Every step closer is agony. Every second in his presence is pain. Powered by kryptonite, Metallo turns Superman's greatest weakness into a constant presence. Not a rare vulnerability, but an unavoidable reality. Superman can fight gods. He can't fight poison. But Metallo is more than a walking weapon. He is a man rebuilt by hatred. His body replaced piece by piece. His heart ripped out and replaced with something lethal. And that's the cruelty of Metallo. The thing that keeps him alive is the very thing that kills Superman. Technology didn't save him. It erased him. Stripped of warmth, stripped of choice, stripped of humanity. Metallo is proof that progress without conscience becomes cruelty. That machines without morality don't create heroes. They create weapons. And what truly breaks Superman isn't the kryptonite. It's the knowledge that this thing stalking him used to be a man, someone with a name, a life, a chance. Superman hears his heartbeat, or what's left of it, and realizes he can't just win. Because defeating Metallo means destroying what little humanity remains. Metallo doesn't just hurt Superman's body, he attacks his compassion, forces him to fight without hope of saving the person inside. And that's why Metallo endures, not as a monster, but as a warning that when we replace the human heart with power, we don't become stronger, we become cruel. Parasite doesn't just steal Superman's strength, he steals his self. Most villains attack Superman from the outside. Fists, weapons, ideology. Parasite attacks from within. Every punch Superman throws makes him weaker. Every grab, every moment of contact drains him. Strength becomes a liability. Power becomes poison. For the first time, Superman has to hesitate, not because he fears death, but because he fears becoming nothing. Parasite represents a terrifying truth. Power taken without responsibility destroys both sides. Parasite gains strength instantly, effortlessly, but he doesn't understand it. He doesn't train with it. He doesn't respect it. He doesn't carry its weight. And Superman does. When Parasite absorbs Superman's power, he doesn't inherit his restraint, his compassion, or his moral burden. He inherits only force, raw and unstable, and it tears him apart. Parasite doesn't want to be Superman. He wants what Superman has, without the discipline, without the choice, without the cost. And that's what makes him tragic. Because Parasite proves something brutal. Power without identity is hollow. The more Parasite takes, the less he becomes, and the more Superman loses, the more clearly we see who he really is. Not a god, not a weapon, but a man who chooses responsibility, even when it hurts. Parasite isn't the theft of strength. He's the theft of meaning. And that's why he's one of Superman's most dangerous enemies. Cyborg Superman doesn't fight Superman. He replaces him. He wears the S-shield, uses his face, speaks with his voice, and the world believes him. That's the horror. Because strength can be challenged. Even gods can bleed. But symbols? Symbols are fragile. Cyborg Superman is the nightmare of legacy. The fear that everything Superman stands for, truth, restraint, hope, can be hijacked and turned inside out. He commits atrocities in Superman's name, delivers cruelty wrapped in a familiar smile, turns salvation into spectacle. And the most devastating part? The world can't tell the difference. People don't question the symbol, they trust it, which means every act of destruction doesn't just hurt cities, it rewrites what Superman means. Cyborg Superman doesn't just damage Superman's body, he poisons his reputation. Every lie erodes trust. Every false rescue stains the shield. Every moment he remains unchecked makes hope feel naive. And Superman is forced into an impossible position. How do you defend your symbol without destroying it? How do you prove you are real when the lie looks exactly like you? Cyborg Superman forces a devastating realization. Hope is only as strong as the trust behind it. Once that trust is broken, no amount of power can restore it overnight. In a universe full of monsters, Cyborg Superman is uniquely terrifying because he proves the greatest threat to hope isn't destruction. It's corruption. Doomsday doesn't hate Superman. He doesn't even know him. There is no rivalry, no vendetta, no motive to understand. Doomsday exists for one purpose: to end. No ideology, no emotion, no fear. Where every other villain argues with Superman, Doomsday silences him. There's no conversation, no moral debate, no lesson to be learned in the moment. Just impact. Bone against bone. City against city. Power against inevitability. And for the first time, Superman falls. Not because he made the wrong choice, not because he hesitated, not because hope failed, but because sometimes brute reality wins. When Doomsday kills Superman, the world doesn't just lose a hero. It loses certainty. The belief that someone will always be there, that the symbol will never break, that hope is guaranteed. For a moment, hope dies with him. And that's why Doomsday matters. He proves Superman isn't inevitable. He's not a constant of the universe. He's a choice. made again and again by someone willing to stand in front of the impossible. When Superman returns, it isn't because Doomsday was wrong. It's because humanity chose to believe anyway. Doomsday doesn't lose. He reveals that hope isn't invincible. It's fragile, and that makes choosing it the bravest act of all. So why do we love Superman's villains? Because each one removes something essential. Lex attacks belief. Darkseid attacks free will. Zod attacks identity. Brainiac attacks empathy. Mxyzptlk attacks logic. Mongul attacks dignity. Metallo attacks vulnerability. Parasite attacks power. Cyborg Superman attacks legacy. Doomsday attacks existence. And every time Superman wins, it's not because he's the strongest. It's because he chooses to be better. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Superman's Dark Mirror, like the video. Subscribe for more villain psychology and cinematic deep dives. And comment below, which Superman villain scares you the most and why? Because sometimes the greatest evil isn't what can defeat Superman. It's what can convince him to stop trying.